Oh, I swear to God, her songs are like a master class. Don't you feel like you've been through a master class? Whew, that was amazing. Okay. Oh, my goodness. Oh, there it is. I could have had to riff for 20 minutes. Riff, get it? Anyway. It's good, I haven't even launched into the talk. That was 10 seconds. So, okay, I am consciously living, consciously loving, consciously choosing me. So, this month, being consciously, how many of you spent the month really conscious of what you were creating in your life? Wow, that's pretty good. And the rest of you, what were you doing? So that was our job this month, to spend the month in conscious creativity, to be aware that our thoughts are creating our experiences, and sometimes it's just to be aware that my thoughts, if I back them up, could show me a belief that I might not want to live anymore. Anybody find one of those? Yeah, beliefs that you just don't want to live anymore. You both raised your hand at the same time. That was funny. They're getting married, so that's a good thing. So they're both getting rid of those beliefs that they don't want before they tie the knot. Perfect. So that was our job this month. Okay, consciously creative. So then Margaret comes along and writes this song, consciously living. Actually, she thinks she wrote a song, Consciously Creative, right?
Well, yeah, that was what my directive was.
Whatever title you put to it, it's just great. And you have the best, you like use your body like no singer I know. I mean, really, you tell a song. If I couldn't hear you, I'd still feel what you're saying. It's just amazing. But that's being consciously awake. That's really being awake. So the title of my talk today is Wake Up. Yeah. Wake up. To so many things. I mean, that's the whole point of being consciously creative. So I decided for the last Sunday of the month, I wanted to do something really creative, like something I have never done before. So any of you that read Facebook and follow Westlake's, well, you all should because it's all on our page now too. So Linda Rojo wrote that today was going to be 2 doctors walked into a church and blah, blah, blah. So I have asked one of the brightest minds in religious science in Centers for Spiritual Living, to join me on stage tonight. And now this morning I got to say to him, I'm going to read a bunch of quotes, and I'm just going to ask you to riff on those quotes. And he's already heard the quotes now this morning, although I have one I didn't do I'm going to add in. And that's really what tonight's going to be about. I first heard this gentleman speak at a Silomar. Probably 20, I've been a minister 15 years, probably 20 years ago. And I remember when I first time I saw him, he had a really long ponytail. It's a ponytail kind of day. He had this really long ponytail, and he was like the Pied Piper. Wherever he was walking, there were 20 people walking with him. It was kind of like he was Jesus. And he was talking, and everybody's listening to him, and I was like, who is that? And they went, oh, that's the minister from Florida. I said, oh, I get it. And so then I started listening to him. And it's really a good thing to listen to Dr. Jim Lockard because he has a lot of amazing things to say. So please welcome Dr. James Lockard.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so you ready?
Yeah.
You ready to do this again?
Yeah. It was fun the first time.
Okay,
so,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So the first thing I asked you this morning was, just tell us what you think about the title Consciously Creative.
Well, I think it's the essence of what we try to do with our lives in Science of Mind and learning our philosophy, is to bring what we've been doing kind of automatically without paying attention more and more into conscious awareness so we can reprogram it and put it back into the subconscious. Mm-hmm. Because, I walked into this teaching having really little idea about really how to make my life work in an effective way. And when I heard what it would take, when I heard some of the beliefs within the philosophy, quite frankly, it was a little disturbing at first because all of my excuses were taken away from me. Why my life didn't work. I couldn't blame my parents anymore. I couldn't blame the fact that, I was genetically a certain way, or I couldn't blame the neighborhood I grew up in or the Catholic Church. Well, maybe a little.
So the neighborhood he grew up in, can you hear the little faint accent? Where do you think he grew up? Really?
See?
Baltimore. Baltimore, which
Baltimore.
is like the cousin
Baltimore.
of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
When I first heard you
I
talk,
was actually born
like,
in Philadelphia and raised in Baltimore.
Annie was a Baltimore cop.
No, I was a cop in Miami.
Oh. But my whole
And the
family were
Miami
Philadelphia
Vice
cops.
days.
Yeah, so we have
Yeah.
so much in common,
Yeah.
because I was never a cop. But my whole family are cops.
You ever been in the backseat of a police car?
Yes.
Okay, well. I haven't.
Because
but
my
that's-
father was a policeman. God. They turned very quickly at
Well.
GTC. Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay, so
So consciously creating is really living intentionally, I think, is a good way of putting it.
Yes.
And paying attention to the many messages that your body and your soul send you throughout the average day, and trying to go a little deeper into understanding those.
and
things.
I really like that you said that what you then decide to create, you put back into subjective mind.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a
that's-
reprogramming kind
Yeah,
of.
that's the whole gift of this teaching, that you can put something back into subconscious mind to create what you do want. So the first quote I have for you is this. So these are quotes that we've done this month, and here's another perspective on it. So you've had time to live with these quotes, those of you who have showed up for all 4 weeks. How many of you have been here for all 4 weeks? And the rest of you, I'm not even going there. Okay, so here we go. You ready? You are not here to do great things, but to live a great life. You are not here to do great things, but to live a great life.
Yeah, and here we are in Hollywood, where, the impression that many people get by looking at this part of California is it's all about fame and fortune. I don't know where they get that impression, but and there are people all over the world. My wife and I travel quite a bit in Europe and here, and there are people all over the world that look at, say, the film industry and what they see in the movie stars, and they think, well, that's what it's all about. It's not so much what you do; it's getting famous, whatever it is. Whether you are famous or infamous. It's as long as you're known, that's what's so important. And people think that's what it is about, to leave a legacy, that you'll be remembered. And in the Science of Mind text, Dr. Holmes says it's not important to leave a legacy. In fact, it's not important that any other individual know you ever lived.
Yep.
What is important is that you live to the fullest version of yourself while you're here in this experience.
And I was actually going to use that quote I told you, which Dr. Holmes said, which is, you are not here to leave a legacy,
Yes.
but with what you do with your life, you surely will. But sometimes we spend so much time trying to leave a legacy, trying to make something happen a certain way, when really we're just here, as Thomas Troward said, to enjoy life. And then when you enjoy life, you end up leaving a legacy. One of the things I can say about Paula Webb, she enjoyed life and dressed up for it at all times. And she has left a legacy. Yes. So, and the thing about fame and fortune, I do want to say, is that I'm all for fame and fortune.
Yeah.
I believe in fame and fortune because I believe it's a natural demonstration of living life from an authentic joy. Because with that, is there anybody here who doesn't have any fame whatsoever? No, I know you, so you're famous.
Yeah. Somebody famous knows you. So
Somebody famous knows you. That was good, I like that. So that's all fame is. It's someone knows you as something for some reason. Everyone's famous. What I love, oh my God, Audra McDonald. Do you all know who Audra McDonald is? One of the greatest Broadway stars and television stars. Anyway, she was telling this story about how she's like one of the greatest singers alive. And so when she had her first child, the child was like 3 or 4 years old, and she started singing to her daughter. And her daughter went, "Mommy, Mommy, no, that hurts." That's how famous she was to her daughter. So fame, I'm all for fame. And fortune too, prosperity. The problem is we tend to go after fame and fortune, and we get it backwards. Our job is to be true to ourselves, authentic, in joy of life, and then watch what happens. So, okay, you ready for your next one?
Sure.
Life is a blackboard upon which we consciously or unconsciously write those messages which govern us.
Every thought is creative. We're not creative some of the time and not creative other time in terms of how our mind works. The beliefs that we have created with our thoughts are continually acting to bring into our experience whatever that is, whether it's success or failure, love or fear or whatever it may be, we're continually creating our experience of reality. Yep. There are no breaks in the process. So if we're not consciously doing it, we're unconsciously doing it. Mm-hmm. And the problem with that is that most of us have a pretty crappy unconscious.
Would you all agree with that?
You know, maybe not totally, certainly, but, you know, it's like the allegory would be of a garden. You know, if you've ever planted a garden, and what you find is after a while you'll see some weeds in the garden that you didn't plant. Where do they come from? Well, they just seem to be part of the dynamic. So where do negative fear-based thoughts come from? They're part of the dynamic. So we have to cultivate what we want so that we're not overrun by what we don't want. So that's why we talk about the importance of doing spiritual practice every day. It's like, what, you know, I don't understand, why do I have to do that? Well, if you're a musician, you understand it. My wife plays violin. She does her scales every day. She knows how to do her scales. She's probably perfected the scales. But it's part of what she does every day as part of a process of reminding herself of her violin nature. And, you know, in my daily practice, I do prayer treatments and meditations and things that I'm very familiar with, but they're reminding me who I am and helping me to cultivate something more positive throughout the day.
And that's a great point, because now you just need to ask yourself, what do you cultivate every day? Think about it. I love that.
That was a great reaction in the back.
I know, right? So what scales are running through your mind every single day? It really behooves us to ask that question often. You know, what have I just been doing? What have I just been practicing? Have I been practicing lack? Have I been practicing fear? Have I been practicing disease? What have I been practicing? What have you been allowing to run the scales of your mind? That's it. I love that analogy with the violin. Do you do that, Eden? Do you do scales every week, every day? I should. I didn't mean to call you out.
That's okay.
But now that you're out.
Yeah. We don't want to should on ourselves. Yeah. No, really. I think we want to gently remind ourselves to get back into what serves us best. I think of my spiritual practice and getting into the habit when I work with students, it's like training a puppy. Ugh. You know, if you don't want the puppy to get on the couch, you have to take the puppy down off the couch about 1,000 times. Or you can just smack the puppy. And the puppy, after a few smacks, won't get on the couch, but he won't do anything else either. Yeah. So what I want to do in training myself is I want to firmly love myself into a good habit that I hadn't before been practicing. That's so great. Rather than saying, oh my God, I didn't do my meditation this morning and beat myself up, then I just say, oh, I didn't do my meditation in the morning. Okay, tomorrow morning I do it. You know, that kind of thing.
That is great. And I just want to remind my husband that you just said that you got to tell the puppy to get off the couch about 1,000 times. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
He said it.
I didn't know this was a relationship workshop, but we can go in that direction if you like.
It is now. Good, okay.
Yeah. And Kevin, how do you feel about that?
He likes them on the couch. Anyway, that's another story. So here we go. Now I'm gonna bank right after what you just said, because there is a tendency on the part of all of us to reproduce the accumulated, subjected experiences of the human race, and thus live an unconscious life. Yes? I'm sorry, yes. I can't. There is a tendency on the part of all of us to reproduce the accumulated, subjected experiences of the human race, and thus live an unconscious life. Meaning, we get caught up in race consciousness, it takes us along with us, we're no longer conscious.
Louis C.K. Does a bit where he talks about he's driving in traffic, and there can be a guy sort of ahead of him in the next lane, and the guy moves over across the lane, you know, kind of close to him. And he says, I look at that individual who I don't know, and I unleash epithets that I would not say to anyone to their face. They're the most vile words in the human language, and I scream them at him because he came across that white line a little too much. You know, and he says, And I think we've all done that kind of thing, you know, where you get where the reactive self comes forward and we don't really know why it does. And I think that, again, that's the weeds. We're in the weeds then. We're in the old unconscious patterns that haven't been reprogrammed, that we haven't maybe looked at because it's uncomfortable, it's disturbing, we don't want to think of ourselves that way. And then while we're thinking about that, we go into that person's lane a little bit, and they blow the horn at us and give us the "you're number one" salute. And we say, what's the matter with them? It was just a mistake. I didn't mean to do it. See, we give ourselves the benefit of the doubt, but we don't give that guy the benefit of the doubt. That too is our own programming. So bringing that to a conscious awareness, and Louis C.K. said, after I did, I thought, my God, I don't want to be this way. I don't want to think that way about other people. But in the comedy routine, he didn't take a step to change that, you see, because that wouldn't be so funny. So what we have to do is look at that and say, okay, I'm setting an intention to reprogram myself in this regard. So I visualize myself in that situation over and over and imagine myself responding the way I would choose to respond. So, and there'll come a point, even when we're not aware of it, when we'll have changed, and we don't know we've changed until someone else pulls in front of us, and we just don't react. And we go, whoa, you know, that's new. But that's often how change occurs, by bringing it to the conscious level, reprogramming it, visualizing the new way, and then letting it unfold.
And it's funny because there is so much race consciousness going on in the world. And, you know, we talk about being right and wrong. How many people here really like being right? Right? Yeah.
How many usually are? I mean, pretty much all the time. Yeah.
So one of my problems, one of the things that I have worked on in my life is this need to be right.
And you're getting really good at it.
I'm getting good at it. Yeah. No, really, Margaret, I am good at it because I'm mostly right. No, but here's the funny part. So I really don't need to be right all the time now. But I had this funny thing happen over the weekend. So I said something or I did something, and I was emphatic that this was the case. And Kevin said, no, that's not correct. You're wrong. And he likes to use those two words together. You're and wrong. You're wrong. And I said, no, I am absolutely not wrong. Well, within moments, I was proved wrong. And he went, that's one. And then throughout the day, he kept adding on. Whenever I would do something or say something that was wrong, it would be like, it's two. When he started using two hands, it really pissed me off. And it was very funny. So this morning, we're driving to Westlake, right? We're driving to Westlake, and it's very cloudy, and it's dark out. And I said, look, I see blue coming in way down there. I think as we go further west, it's going to be blue. And Kevin was like, James, we're going to the beach. There's a lot of mist. It's not getting bluer. You're just imagining that. You know, you're this positive guy. You think you see blue. It's gray. So I'm like, no, I'm seeing blue. It's going to get bluer. Well, within moments, we pull over a hill, and it's like blue skies. And I didn't even bother. I just went.
So in relationships, one of the important...
You may want to use your words. Yes, I get it. So here's my point. Besides the fact that Kevin can be wrong too. Here's my point. My point is that race consciousness, if an entire group of people think this is right, then if you have a difference of opinion, you're wrong innately. You're wrong because of what's going on. But is that really how we want to live our lives? Being dragged along by race consciousness? There's a race consciousness in this country right now that I will not be dragged along with. There's a race consciousness that comes along all the time that you are a choice to say no. And that's really what this is all about. That it is up to us to live conscious lives and say, though 1,000 to my left and 1,000 to my right. Do you know the rest of that quote?
No.
Neither do I. Good Catholic boys from the East Coast. Oh. Though 1,000 to my left and 1,000 to my right, in my home I speak the word. That's something like that. And that's how we have to live our lives. It's not about race consciousness. So are we willing to literally stand in that truth? So
it's about grace consciousness.
Grace consciousness. Did you just
It
make
just
that up?
came to me.
Did you
during
just
that.
make that up?
Just came to me. You know,
Okay, you can have
it
that one.
channeled through. And really, so think about this. You know, when I was raising my daughters, who were raised in this teaching, I would always say two things when they had a difficult choice to make. Be as wise as you can and as loving as you can in making this choice. Because you can be wise and not loving, and you can be loving and not wise. But you want to try to find the best combination of both, and that puts you into a place of grace. And grace is where you're in the flow of the divine good, as we would say, or when things feel right, you're in the groove, because the choices seem to fall forward in a positive way, and they seem to match the resonance of your vibration that you're creating and that you desire. Yep. You know, Dorian and I, my wife and I we sold our house 2 years ago. We've been traveling for 2 years.
Oh, wait, don't go there. Don't go there.
Don't go there yet?
No, I'm going to read you one more quote.
Okay.
Okay? And then I'm going to ask you a question.
It's kind of authoritarian, isn't it?
The word's controlling.
Yes, controlling.
Something else I'm working on. So here we go. So I'm not in our marriage. I let that be him. He's the most controlling in my marriage. So anyway, here we go.
It's going to be a great dinner tonight, I can tell.
So I'm going to read the quote.
Okay.
Then I'm going to ask you a specific question based on the quote.
Okay.
You know the routine.
Yeah.
Here we go. That's it. The objective form to which we give our attention is created from the very attention which we give it. The objective form, the thing that you demonstrate in life, to which you've given your attention, is created from the very attention you give it. So, what I ask is, so before you decided to kind of throw everything away and just step into a different type of life and literally he moved to Lyon. Is that right?
We're moving to Lyon.
Moving to Lyon,
France.
France. And I'm marveled. I am in awe of what he and Dorian have done, which is he's literally cut all the things, all the attachments, and just went out into the world. I mean, tell them how many clothes you have.
This is my outfit. We travel with one suitcase each. So I have casual outfits, but this is as dressy as it gets. And that's it. I have,
So you have
I have jeans, I have 3 pairs of pants, 2 pairs of shorts. Let's go through the whole thing. 4 T-shirts, 4 short sleeve, like Tommy Bahama shirts, 2 long sleeve shirts like this 1 jacket, underwear. I have socks that I picked up in Oz on a trip through Oz. They were on some old lady under a house, and I got those. So I have like half a dozen pairs of socks, and that's it. You know, and then toiletries and that kind of thing, because the suitcase has to be under 23 kilograms to go on the airplane. So it does tend to make one focus.
I think that's so amazing and scary at the same time. I was sharing this morning that Kevin and I are about to start a renovation of our house. So taking all of our things and putting them in a pod out front shows us just how much stuff we have, and we're about to expand on our house. And you know, as Jim was talking this morning, there's something enviable about having one suitcase and traveling free all over the world, don't you think? Doesn't that sound exciting? Yet how many of you would do it?
Well,
Okay.
Sure.
And our congregation just got smaller.
I would do it if, you see. So that's the interesting thing. So people have asked what made us do it.
Yeah, what did you put your attention on?
And the attention was really on once the youngest daughter was out of the house and free in the world, it was how do we want to live? And we both love to travel. We were kind of, quite frankly, done with California. And some circumstances added in that Dorian, who's a management consultant, she had 3 contracts within a 6-month period cancel. And she just said, I think that's a sign that maybe it's time we just sold everything and left. What do you think? Are you ready to leave the pulpit? And I was at Simi Valley at the time, had been there for 6 years, was 20 years in pulpit ministry after 25 years as a police officer. Like most of you, I was in law enforcement before I came into the teaching. And I thought about it really quickly, and I thought, yeah, I'm ready. And I actually pretended to think about it because I already knew I was ready. And I was ready because, not because I didn't enjoy it or I didn't love the people or love what I was doing, I was ready because it was no longer my passion. So we did. We sold the house, we sold the cars, we sold most of the furniture. We do have some possessions in a storage locker in Thousand Oaks, including clothes to change out for seasons. You know, I'm not always wearing Bermuda shorts. But we got rid of probably 80% of our belongings, and we've been traveling half-time in Europe, half-time here, and we've decided we're going to have a home base in France. But the intentionality about it was we wanted to spend longer times in places so we didn't have to be tourists all the time. We wanted to incorporate work into it. We wanted to be able to meet people where we were when we visited places. And we've been very successful at that. And we did a lot of spiritual practice around it. A lot of visioning, a lot of meditation, a lot of prayer treatment together. And really wanted to incorporate that into what we did. And all I can say is it's been a remarkable experience. We've had almost entirely positive experiences traveling. Never had a flight canceled, never had any of those horror story kinds of things happen. And we've traveled about 250,000 miles in the last 2 years.
That's just so amazing. I had no idea when we scheduled this that I'd actually be bringing a live example of what it is to live a consciously creative life, moment to moment. So I have a kind of a final story for you. Kevin and I were in Palm Springs this weekend, and what we always do when we go there is we go look at houses. And so we saw a house that for me was like, oh my God, this is the perfect house. The backyard was this amazing yard that when you walk into it, first of all, the pool and the jacuzzi and the space, and no matter where you stood in the backyard, you saw an entire full, what's that called? Surround sound of whatever. Around a lot of mountains, right? No matter where you looked, you saw mountains. It was just gorgeous. And the house was so beautifully designed and so simple yet modern, and it just looked so great. And I started thinking to myself, oh my God, I know we're starting a renovation Monday, but what if we don't? What if we just sell the house and move to Palm Springs? And everything, throw out what we don't need. We can move into this house. I'm thinking all this while I'm walking around. I haven't dared said it to him. And so I'm like, I could do that. So then I have to be in Westlake early on Sunday morning. I could leave Saturday night. I'd be there Sunday through Thursday. I teach practitioners at night. I could leave right after practitioner class. This is what's going through my mind. And so I mentioned it to Kevin just as a joke, sort of, and he just looked at me and went, no. And And so, but he also loved the house. But then I had to really think to myself, and here's the message I really want to get to you today. Did I really want to turn my life upside down, to move to Palm Springs, stop a renovation, another move, all the way, or, but God forbid, buy the house, have two, use it as a rental? Now I can really overcomplicate my life and have a rental property to take care of. No, none of that was really what was going on. There was something going on way behind it all. And it wasn't until, an hour or so later, I got it. I went, wait a minute. It's not that I want to move to Palm Springs. It's that there's a part of me that wants to really make things a lot lighter, make things a lot easier, make things a lot cleaner, that I just want more space in my life. I want more outdoor space. I want more time to remember who I am. I want more time to live in that remembrance of who I am. So that's really what was going on. So I would encourage you as we close this month of being consciously creative to really pay attention, because the title of my talk is Wake Up. So the title of my talk means there is something behind everything that's happening in your life. If you're willing to look behind it and not just listen to the line itself. Y'all know actors that all they do is memorize their lines and speak them. And they are as boring as Dr. Walker. I won't repeat him in a service, but very boring. And good actors speak their lines with layers and layers and layers of subtext. So I'm asking you to take a look at the subtext of your life. Find out what's underneath everything that's going on. And that means you have to be awake. You have to be consciously creating your lives, beat by beat, minute by minute, and listen to what's going on in your life and back it up. Don't just move and buy a new house. back it up and say, what's that all about? So when I look at you and I think about what you've done with your life and how you're just so open to anything that's going to come your way, I don't think you have anything off the table, do you?
Oh, probably, but nothing.
You probably
no,
won't
in
be a
general.
policeman again.
Yeah, no, but no, I think that's my experience. Probably over the last 2 or 3 decades has been looking at, if I were to look back 5 years, I'd say that person 5 years ago would never imagine what'd be going on today.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it's been. And and so I sort of have decided, well, I might as well be receptive to that and to live it more in the mystery. And I don't know where I'll be in 6 months. We're planning to get a place in France, and we're going to go look for that. But that may, it may not work out. We may not find a place.
You may see something
We may
along the way.
decide something else. So we're in that space, and we're able to be in that space because of the way we've kind of intentionally designed our lives of late to be able to do that.
Did you hear what he said? Intentionally designed our lives.
And we're able to be comfortable with that kind of unknowing, with living more serendipitously. Like, for example, a quick example, back in the fall, we were saying, we were in Europe, and knew we were coming back to the U.S. We said, where do you want to spend the winter? And I said, I'd love to spend the winter in South Florida. And Dorian doesn't like South Florida. So she said, well, you better find a good place, right? No, I need the relationship help. And so I actually, there was a Facebook ad for this place called Roam, R-O-A-M, and they're a co-living, co-working place, and there's one in Miami, one in London, one in Tokyo, one in Bali. So I looked up the Miami one. It's a beautiful renovated building right outside of downtown. It's got a swimming pool. It's got palm trees. It's just this gorgeous place. So we booked it, and we went, and we had the most amazing experience of living with about 50, 20, and 30-somethings who are all working in internet companies, or they're artists or musicians in these co-working spaces and everything. We just had the most fantastic winter. And it was just being open to that. And, you'd have asked us in September where we were going to be, we didn't know.
Yeah.
So being able to, we want to be able to be in that kind of a decision point. And because the kids are out of the house, we can do that. We couldn't have done that some time ago. It wouldn't have been the right thing to do.
So that's what our month has been about. Taking risks, taking chances, being awake, being alive, being conscious of what's going on in our lives. And if we don't like it, change it up. Because next month's theme is called Change It Up. So we are about to move from being conscious to changing things up. So can I have a lot of love for Dr. Jim?
Thank you. Thank you. And for James. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.